Palazzo, State of Mississippi.
Thank you, Chairman Kaufman, for having this here, and thank the members for allowing us to participate. Being from Mississippi, being a Marine veteran, serving in the Mississippi Army National Guard, I take these complaints extremely seriously. I've been in Congress for 2.5 years, and it seems like 90% of our caseload back home is dealing with VA issues and veterans benefits. Over 2,500 people my office has served. I have a Wounded Warrior Fellow who does this probably 60 hours a week. I have my director of casework is a former Army officer married to a retired colonel. Our #1 focus, not just because my district is extremely populated with military retirees and active Guard installations, but it just seems like we're breaking one of our fundamental promises to the men and women who serve our nation, and that's not providing the care that they deserve, that they've earned. I'm shocked, I'm sick, and I'm disgusted that we're even having this, and that this is a VA medical center that bears the name of Sonny Montgomery is not in keeping with his legacy of service, not just to the Mississippi National Guard, but to the nation. He was a consummate supporter and fighter for the military. Dr. Sherwood, you mentioned in your statement that during the past 15 years, the Jackson VA Medical Center has had a diverse leadership who all share a common trait: a progressive failure of their moral compass. Can you tell me, 15 years, do they come here and become morally corrupt, or is this systematic throughout the upper echelons of management throughout the VA system?
My first 15 years, the organization really had no problems. I think patient care was first. Once I saw the change in the compensation model, we began to see the system gamed after the first couple of years when managers understood it. I think but when that became paramount, we started to get in these situations where patients who deserve to be told the truth are not told the truth. I'm referring specifically now to the trial of 52 people who I can't speak, I have not seen their medical record completely. I know what's in the trial, but Dr. Hatton certainly has, and she certainly believed after seeing their complete medical record that these were egregious errors. I also think that you begin to see the erosion of cooperation with agencies like the State Board of Medical Licensure in our state that does have investigative authority and has a right under exemption, as I understand it. I'm not a lawyer, but I understand they are exempt under the privacy laws, which the current administration of our hospital and the VISN are hiding behind, not to give over the records under this subpoena from the State Board of Medical Licensure. And I would hope that one of the results of this committee today would be to shake those loose for some cooperation with the State Board of Medical Licensure.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sherwin. I think Dr. Hollenbeck pointed out briefly that Dorothy Taylor White is still employed by the VA.
It was a colleague of mine.
Okay.
I believe Dr.
And Dr. Kirshner is still employed by the VA?
Yes, he is.
And I'm looking here, the former director, Linda Watson, she was basically misappropriated funds at another VA, and she was transferred to the Jackson VA. And this sounds like not just can we not only talk about the executive compensation changes, but is this when the problems really began at the VA in Jackson as well, or was there leadership issues even before that?
I can only say that it's an apparent reward system for people who get good performance measures and do whatever is necessary in their job. When they get into trouble for that, then they're taken care of, even if it's at some later date. I'll give you one example. The latest information I have out of the building, and this is not firsthand, it's secondary, is, for instance, that Dr. Kirshner has now appeared at a surgical staff meeting presenting on behalf of the VISN and was told, and the chief of surgery told one of my colleagues that Dr. Kirshner is now the consultant to the VISN for physician productivity. So again, he appears to be being groomed for a position at the VISN level.
It just sounds good, like the good old boy network. You're either transferred or you resign and you become a consultant somewhere within the system. There seems to be some serious issues with the VA, and I don't just think it's Jackson. I think there's management issues all across the nation, and I hope bringing attention to this one that we can fix it so no other veterans have to endure the nightmare that they're going through in Jackson. The fact that Mr. Jenkins lost a friend, and thank you for your service as well. You lost a friend, a fellow employee, and a veteran because of gross incompetence, and people aren't in jail. I'd like to know everyone that was involved in that. They should have been fired immediately. So we really do, in the essence of taking care of our veterans and also maximizing taxpayer funding for the VA, which is something we promised to do for our veterans, is that I would like to think that there are some areas that we could privatize, and it needs to be explored and maybe dismissed or accepted. But we have to look at making sure that your employees, Mr. Jenkins, the ones that are performing, are taken care of, and the ones that aren't worth anything, they go find another job, not in the VA, but in the private sector. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Harper, State of Mississippi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be here. And
panel, and it's fitting just a few days after Veterans Day that we're having this hearing. And before I begin, I want to note that this hearing has a special meaning for me since we are specifically discussing the Sonny Montgomery VA Medical Center. Many of us in Mississippi and around the nation remember very clearly the work Sonny Montgomery did on behalf of our nation's veterans. So it is heartbreaking and, quite frankly, makes me angry that the VA has so completely screwed up a medical center with the name of such a great supporter of our veterans. In fact, it's disgusting. Now, I'm not on the VA committee, but I am a veteran. Veterans have to wait more than a year to receive benefits, and when they do, it's painstakingly problematic. Now, I've had my issues with the VA Medical Center in Biloxi, and we're working through those. I've been assured those issues are going to be handled, but the complaints keep coming in. My office is regularly called upon to interface on simple yet frustrating matters for veterans. Some examples include failure to give proper notice of appointments, causing scheduling difficulties for aging veterans, veterans being turned into collection agencies due to billing errors by the medical center, unnecessary hurdles to fill regular prescriptions, and long, excruciating, all-day waits at the medical center, only to find out you're waiting to see a nurse practitioner and not a doctor. And now we have these stories from our veterans coming out of Jackson, those that we've heard this morning, those from my constituents from across the state of Mississippi. While I am thankful that my office has not experienced a tragedy like the instance of Mr. Lee, a VA employee and Army veteran, I must ask, why does a veteran have to call their congressman for assistance on what should be routine matters performed by the medical center? If you can't get the simple matters right, it strikes utter fear in me when I hear the horror stories described earlier. I'm appalled because our veterans deserve better. These men and women fought for our country, came back, and they deserve better. They deserve better from a Veterans Administration that for years has said, don't worry, we'll fix it. Don't worry, we'll fix the claims backlog. Give us a little more time and we'll fix the problems at our medical centers. Provide a little more funding and it'll all be okay. Well, guess what? It's not okay, and it's never been okay. It's a problem from the top down. But I want to focus briefly on those of you here before us today. Veterans are literally dying at the Jackson VA because the VA can't fix their problems. I mean, those reports I'm reading are sickening. Veterans left to die because they were forgotten about. Bad prescriptions, illegal prescriptions, patient overbooking, the list goes on. So I want to know on behalf of the veterans of Mississippi, Mr. Battle, what are you doing to personally fix these issues? And what are you going to do? What are you doing now? What are you going to do? And I don't want to hear political jargon. I want to hear you tell this committee, tell me, and tell the state of Mississippi, what are you doing to fix these problems that are facing our veterans?
Well, thank you, Congressman Palazzo, for your question. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before the committee today. More specifically to your question, sir, you mentioned benefits to start with, I think. One of the things that I've done in Jackson and continue to focus on is processing medical evaluations for veterans. When I got to Jackson, the average processing time was a little over 30 days. The standard for VA was 30. Today, we're processing in the 14, 15-day range on average, so we have cut that in half, and we're very happy that we're able to do that, so when the claims do come to us, we turn them quickly.
I appreciate that. I don't mean to interrupt. I just got a few more questions. How does it feel to know that your colleagues, they weren't terminated, they weren't fired for their gross incompetence and possibly illegal behavior, that they're still amongst your ranks in the VA system? Does that make you proud of the service that you do? And I hope I'm not overstepping, but I know if I've worked a career in the industry, and I know y'all have sacrificed for our veterans, and you're here, you're not 100% responsible. And I know you have good employees. Mr. Jenkins mentioned that you have good rank-and-file employees. You've got good doctors at the VA medical system. But does that make y'all proud that the system that you've grown up in are just transferring people from one place to another? Mr. Battle, let's start with you.
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Congressman. I have over 30 years of service with the VA, and I'm very proud of that service. And it's been my life and my passion. And it continues to be today, and it is every day that I get up. Because I don't think there's any greater job to have in the United States than take care of our nation's veterans. And any time that we have an incident or something occur where something didn't go like it should, that takes a little bit out of me. And it's my job to make it better. And that's what I concentrate on each and every day when I go to the office.
Mr. Battle, my time's up, and I hope you're the last director in Jackson for a long time, and that you personally oversee fixing the problems and paying for the mistakes that have been made, especially to the veterans. I think they need to be immediately notified of the possibility that their results were erroneously or weren't read at all. And I appreciate your passion, because I know for a fact my wife started out in the VA medical system in Houston. She worked in the Gulfport VA medical system until Hurricane Katrina took that pretty much that whole facility. So I understand, and Sarah, thank you for your service, and Ms. Payton, I thank you for yours. But please don't ever write this off or call this kerfaloos. I'm with Chairman Kaufman. If you use a word like that in the military, you're probably not in the military. You're just passing through. But please don't dismiss us. Work hard. Make us proud, and most of all, let's make Sonny Montgomery proud, because wherever he is, he's looking down. And he's got a heavy heart. Yes. So that we owe it to him, but we owe it to the veterans. That's first and foremost, #1 priority. Thank you, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Thompson, Mississippi.
Thank you very much.
State of Mississippi.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. A quick question for Ms. Lewis Payton. When were you informed of alleged wrongdoings of Dorothy White Taylor, and what actions have you taken since then to end these prohibitive narcotic prescription practices at the VA in Jackson?
I think it's important to note that we, the leadership at the Medical Center and at the VISN, requested an OIG review of concerns that had been brought to our attention. As you are aware, the criminal investigation has been completed, and as was mentioned, an administrative investigation is underway, and we are not at liberty to discuss it in this public hearing, nor any actions that are in process or may result from it.
So you kind of knew something was going on, and so you asked for the OIG investigation, correct, or the investigation, and that's when you actually learned of these behaviors. And now she's been on suspension, indefinite suspension, since 2013, February 2013?
Sir, I will be happy to discuss personnel issues related to individuals in a private setting. It wouldn't be appropriate to do so in this public hearing.
All right. I appreciate it. Again, I don't want to, I mean, we have to recognize that there's been some serious mistakes made in the past before we can begin the process of moving forward, so that this culture, this institutional culture is changed, turned upside down on its head, so we can do what our #1 mission is, and that's to serve our veterans. Every one of you said you have a passion for serving veterans. I know I mentioned my wife. She loved it. She shot out the house. You know, she would stay late. I think she would pick up any veteran that came in. She would just work them in, and she loved it. And it was something that I know many VA employees do. The doctors behind you had that passion. And so there's so many other agencies, so many other jobs you could pursue, but people are drawn because they're naturally caretakers. And we have to have a way to wean out these bad apples, because they don't need to be anywhere near our military veterans. I mean, the military has a way of weaning out bad apples as well. And I hope, and I know we're talking about the VA Center in Jackson, and I hope we emulate, like Congressman Waltz mentioned, stellar, model VA medical centers. There's with the number of veterans in Mississippi, and we should be that #1, that #2, ranking the best hospital system for the VA in America. I mean, I want a competition. I mean, that should be y'all's charge every day. We are going to be #1, and it's not, you know, a decade from now. It's within arm's reach. So, I mean, I could go on about the oversight. I could go on about the accountability. I look forward to personally meeting with y'all outside the committee setting to see what your benchmarks are, where you're going, and then to help kind of monitor it. Because as I mentioned, 2,500. I've been in office 2.5 years. 2,500 of case files have been opened in my office dealing with veterans and veterans benefits. Not all with the medical center, but and they say, you know, I want to be patient. I want to be kind about this, but I can't, because patience in some regards, when we're talking about veterans that are 70, 80 years old, they don't have time. They need the care and they need it immediately. And they need it, you know, because they've earned it and they deserve it. And I just know that y'all are going to work hard, and know that if there's anything that we can do, let us know. And I appreciate, again, the chairman for allowing, you know, some non-VA committee members. Many of these issues are probably, you know, they're aware of the VA inside and out. This is new to us, but I look forward to learning a lot more about it. So.
Yes, sir, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working with your office in addressing the concerns. I've become personally involved in that. And just so that you know, the motto in Vision 16 is the pursuit of perfection in veteran-driven care. We may not achieve perfection, but we will catch excellence. So we're going to continue to work this, because we, too, think that this medical center should be the beacon of what VA medical centers are across this country.
I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Harper, State of Mississippi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thanks to each of you for